Let's talk. It's your man Eric Coffey here with a pretty controversial guy. You guys may know this fellow here, Trace Henderson, back to discuss another full-fledged week in LIU football. Of course, you know we always start out with the games and the scores, and after that we'll discuss some key matchups.
Starting with the Hurricane and Tigers. Went 0-26 in favor of the Hurricane. On the C team, 29-6 in favor of the Hurricane. B team, 26-0 in favor of the Hurricane. And A team, 41-8 in favor of the Hurricane.
All right, next is the Seahawks and the Chiefs. The Chiefs flag team actually won 12 to the Seahawks 6. C team went 35 in favor of the Seahawks, 35 to the Chiefs 0. B team was 25 to the Seahawks in favor of the Seahawks to the Chiefs 6. And the A team was a blowout, 35 for the Seahawks, 0 for the Chiefs.
Moving on to the Sharks and Steelers. 2019 close game in favor of the Sharks. 0-19 on the C team in favor of the Steelers. 26 in favor of the Sharks on the B team. A team, 28-8 in favor of the Steelers.
All right, the next matchup will be the Tar Heels and Gator Horns, which the Tar Heels in the flag blew out the Horns, 35 to the Gator Horns 0. C team was 13 in favor of the Tar Heels to the Gator Horns 0. The next game was a pretty close game. B team was the Tar Heels 13 and the Gator Horns 6. And the A team was another blowout, 35 to 0 in favor of the Tar Heels.
And the final matchup of the week, we have the Bulls visiting the Rangers. Flag team, Rangers win again on a forfeit. 1A, which is the C team, 41-12 in favor of the Bulls. B team, 28-0 in favor of the Rangers. The A team, close game, Rangers, Bulls, 18 for the Rangers, 19 for the Bulls. The Warriors and the Wolverines had a bye week.
So that's the scores. Will be time to discuss some of the key matchups. As we can see, some of these games had major blowouts on all levels or many of the levels, but we did have some close games. Of course, every week is going to be at least a few games that were close and are worth discussing. But one thing I want to discuss, since we have been talking about some of the teams in the NYFL and Allied, I want to talk about the Chiefs here. We mentioned last week, we discussed the Steelers and the Chiefs, and we left the show with the idea that this week and next week and the weeks upcoming, going into the playoffs, we will see who are the real contenders and who aren't. And the Chiefs, who was thought to be one of the major contenders, looks like they slid a little bit this week. This was a week you was facing a key contender in the Seahawks, but didn't seem like the Chiefs showed anything here. They were blowed out on all levels, except for the flag in which they were victorious, but all other levels, C, B, and A, the Seahawks just blew the Chiefs out. But this was a matchup and a game that would have been a statement game for the Chiefs. Not necessarily if they'd have won on all levels, because other than their team themselves, we didn't really expect that to really happen, but at least made this matchup close, to let it stick in our heads to say, okay, maybe the Chiefs are a good team. Maybe they should be shown some respect, just like the Seahawks and the Hurricanes. But it didn't look like they did that this week.
No, not at all. And I don't want to beat up on the Chiefs, but they are a first-year organization that they had a favorable schedule in the beginning that, maybe where it looked like, okay, they could possibly or, potentially contend. And then they run into a brick wall with the Seahawks, and, you find out probably they're at the middle of the road or a lower seeded team at best on 3 of the 4 levels. But don't want to, shut them down because the competition on the B team and C team is so close going into the playoffs. So they can regroup and still make some noise potentially. But the issue with them coming out and, being a contender and, dominating, making a statement, that just didn't come to fruition this week.
Right, just didn't work. Some other key matchups was the Sharks and Steelers flag. They went
Close game.
yeah, close game, 2019. That was a pretty good game. Some of these flag games seems like they're some of the highlight games of the week. A lot of times it's the A or the B
Tackle levels.
B team game. Yeah, the tackle level. That's a lot of times that's the games that we're mentioning. But these flag games are getting pretty tough here. They're getting pretty feisty. So much respect to the Sharks and the Steelers flag team for that.
Sharks getting their first win on flag.
Oh, that's true. That's right. Sure is. Yeah.
So congratulations to the Sharks.
First win, 20 points. The first win. And also the Tar Heels Gators. Of course, the Gator Horns are still trying to move their way up, but they're still struggling to get victories on all levels. And they, of course, still feel short to the Tar Heels B team, but they kept the game close, 13-6. It wasn't a blowout. In fact, only one of the games was a blowout. That was the A team, which won 35-0. But other than that, they did show that they can play, and they can improve going into next season.
Absolutely.
All right, also the Rangers Bulls. Man, which is only one game that was really competitive. Of course, Coach Q and his B team put up some points, 28 points to 0 on the Bulls. The B team has continued to roll, even though they got two close losses. Not just 2 losses, but those were really close. Of course, one of them came down to the last 10 seconds. But this A team, and I want to get into that. Of course, Mr. Henderson here talked a lot about the Chiefs and Steelers, but I want to talk about the A team of the Rangers and what's going on with the Rangers. What's the problem? And will they make the playoffs? I know some weeks ago we would have been assured the Rangers are making the playoffs. They're playing good, they're playing competitive even when they lose. But, and they lost this game by 1 point. But the Rebellion Bulls are really not, even though they had some close games, they haven't been seen as a playoff team. Until now, it seems as though they may make a run at getting to the playoffs. But before that, they were not viewed as a playoff caliber team. But yet, the 18 Rangers lost to them by 1 point. And it's not that they don't have good players. Not even that they don't have good coaching, but what is the problem? What is the major problem for these 18 Rangers? It seems like at this point things are kind of falling off track over the past 3 games, including Trace here resigning as the A team coach and offensive coordinator. So what's the problem here, Mr. Henson? What's the problem with the A team?
Hopefully this it's a few things. It's never just one thing when you have a team that should be better and not performing to the standard that you would expect. The most important thing, we played 3 or 2 really good teams, and then we played a team on Sunday or Saturday that was pushing to make a playoff run. So you had a team that was motivated and came out and was motivated and took advantage of some a team that is, kind of struggling and losing some confidence, along with some of the issues with the coaching and just the what we think should be done. and that kind of leads to the perfect storm till you have a upset like this that could happen. And that's the most important thing. So hopefully with this, with me moving on, maybe that the coaches there they will get a team of spark to continue on and finish out the season. They're fighting to get in the playoffs. I still think that they have a good shot at getting in the playoffs. 2-3. They got a rematch with the Sharks at the end of the year. They get the Tar Heels, who are inconsistent, but beatable. But depends on which Tar Heels again show up, as the saying goes. So hopefully, and then they were right there in this game. So hopefully, they are now motivated by the possibility of not being in the playoffs, and that they could turn things around there and get back on track.
So you're telling me you think that you resigning is a key component to a team that is kind of drifted away from its competitiveness, that is having kind of coaching problems or coaching disagreements. This kind of a team, even some of the players may lack motivation. So you mean to tell me you think that you resigning from this team is going to help this team get more motivated than it has the last 3 losses?
Yes, because you will have a coaching staff that maybe is on the same page, and if you get that, then maybe the kids will respond better. So I think that it couldn't hurt. Right now at this point, you're on a 3-game slide and facing 4 and potentially not making the playoffs. It couldn't hurt. So I want to do what's best for the team, and I think at this point, I think that would be a good thing for the team. Hopefully, it could give them the spark they needed.
That's an interesting perspective, but much respect and good luck to the Rangers A team.
Oh, absolutely.
I wish them nothing but the best throughout the rest of the Allied football season, and hopefully they can bounce back and make the playoffs. Because they, like I say, they are a talented team, and you hate to see a talented team, just fall all the way off during a season like this. So, but going forward to, we talked about some talented players, or I just mentioned.
Well, before we move on, could I mention on that Steelers Sharks? We kind of grazed over, but I wanted to say to the Steelers, that A team that you guys are really pushing, and that C team
forget
that you guys are really pushing, again, you have a chance to go out and do what the Hurricane did and shut out a quality opponent in the Tigers B team, which was the number 2 team. You have a chance to go and do that, and you again 28-8 on the A team, not impressive. 19-0 on the Sharks. Again, the Sharks are better on the C team, so I can accept that. But on the A team, again, just 28-8 to a team that you want to probably blow out if you're again going to say that you're one of the top teams in the league.
Yeah, definitely. As we said, and these last few weeks are statement weeks.
Oh yeah.
Anybody can get on a page and say, "Well, our team deserved this, we deserve that." Hey, but when we're reading these scores on live, hey, this is what happened in between the line. This is what happened on the field. You can say that your team deserves this and that, but these scores do not lie. So hey, if you want to get those bragging rights, you have to make key plays in key games, and you have to win key victories.
Yeah.
And
you got to dominate them.
Yeah, and a dominant performance, and Steelers B and not even the A maybe didn't have a dominant performance that would be enough to convince those who may say that they're one of the best teams.
I think that the Steelers are very much a 4 seed team that just had a favorable schedule. Yeah.
Well, we'll be reviewing that later on here in the show as well. The latest playoff updates, where we will be discussing where teams are right now. But going back to supporters and coaches talking about who deserves this, who deserves that, as far as teams. We want to discuss some more controversial as far as coaches and teams thinking individual players deserve to be in the Legends Case trophy watch, which we listed in the group earlier today. And we have some debates and disagreements on some of the players who were chosen to be some of the top players, which at each level outside of the flag, we listed two players each. We didn't go all the way down the line. Of course, last week I listed all of the top players from each level, but for the Legends Case, this is the top two players who we feel is in the league at this point, which of course on the C level, we have Lil Will, running back and DB for the Wolverines, been playing excellent. I mean, you talk about a very small guy, but he's playing like he's about 5'9". I mean, you know, just a total playmaker. And Dario Anderson, running back for the Sharks, there's been some talk about this young man too. So right now, they seem to be the top two players in the C level. And B, you have Lyric Ewell, which I have number one at this point, even ahead of Eddie Moss. Because you're talking about a guy with one handoff, he can change the whole pace of the game. He can change the momentum of a game. With handing him the ball off one time, and he can take it all the way to the house. And he's been consistent at that all year. You know, I think Ewell is definitely the top guy to be level at this point, speaking of Lyric Ewell. And Eddie Moss, quarterback for the Wolverines, he's not too much, he's not too far behind. You know, he's consistent. You know, he's still making plays. He didn't have a great week last week, but he still made plays, and his team still won. Even though it was close, it went down to the last 10 seconds, but he still played a good game. So I think those two guys at the B, I don't think it's really anybody that's really a threat to those two. Those two are the most consistent. And I say Ewell, he's a hell of a playmaker on that B team, man. He's very shifty with that ball. And A team seems to be where the controversy is at. We have Miguel, the quarterback for the Tar Heels. He's consistent as well. Some may say, he's not as complete as other quarterbacks or other players on the A team. Maybe not even his own team, but he's been consistent and he's been playing this way all year. And the QB for the Sharks has been in discussion. But I've seen a lot of plays where, you have to be clutch too. Even at this level of youth football, you have to make big plays in big games. And it's been times that the Shark QB, he didn't make those plays and they were right there for him to make. He's still a good player, but I don't see him as in the top two. And of course, Lyric Ewell's brother, Khalil Ewell, there's been a bit of debate about him. Well, why isn't he, he had 3 touchdowns this last week. Why isn't he the top guy, or at least in the discussion, which he is in the discussion, but he's not in the top 2. In fact, I think Solomon, I think the last couple of weeks, maybe even last 3 weeks, he's probably made the most plays on the Rangers A team. That's what I see. But Khalil Ewell is still a good player. He still makes some plays. He's a hell of an improviser. He has a good IQ for his age. But and of course, Jalen, Ashley, nobody's catching this guy. Not Khalil, not Solomon, not Miguel. At this point, he's head and shoulders above all of them, I feel. This guy's a total playmaker on both sides of the field. And right now, he's head and shoulders above these guys at this point. Maybe throughout the weeks, it will be something different.
Yeah, we'll start there with that controversy with Khalil. The biggest difference in the Tar Heels and the Wolverines are right now outplaying the Sharks and the Rangers. Mm-hmm. And the difference is those players. So when you're handing out an award and you're giving an award, you have to look at what that team, what that individual player means to that team. And the Rangers are not winning with Khalil. Even though he's playing his heart out, he's scoring touchdowns. He's going to be the top 2 or 3 players on the field when he's in a game. But right now, it's just not enough, and it's up to his teammates to really help and him to close out and finish strong if he wants to push to chase Jalen, who has a favorable schedule to put up bigger numbers. He has the Warriors coming up, and then he has the Rambling Bulls. No, they already played the Rambling Bulls, but he has the Gators coming up, and he has the Warriors. So I don't. No, he has the Sharks. I'm sorry, the Sharks and the Warriors. So those games are very favorable. Now that drops Khalil to the bottom of the list of the 4 on the 18, right, because Jalen and the Sharks quarterback have to play each other. Right. And so if they play each other, that's the chance for the Jacory to make the Sharks quarterback to make a statement. Jacory can make a statement against the Wolverines, and you'll have a situation where the Sharks are in the playoffs. They played a tough team, and Jacory had a good game, and now he upseats Jalen. I don't see, and then Miguel finishes out with the Rangers, and he finished out with the Rangers and the Sharks as well. So Khalil missed probably his head-to-head opportunity to make some. He didn't, but the team. Right. He didn't as an individual, but his team missed that opportunity to really, get him rewarded for his efforts. And I hate that. I'm speaking it hurts as a coach, but I'm speaking as an analyst today that he looks to be out of the race for that. Moving on to the B team, you say Lyric, I say Lyric, but man, what Eddie Moss means to his team is about what the same as Lyric mean. How do you separate the two? Well, you go to the records and the head-to-head. I think if Lyric loses that award, that's what it's going to come down to. So we'll see when the vote is tallied. But those two, man, that is close. Yeah, it is. That one is going to be the one to watch. And then on the C team with Darrell Anderson stepping up for the Sharks. The Sharks kind of finding stride the last two or 3 weeks, winning one game on the field, having a forfeit that win though. But as far as the performance, they have outside of this loss on Saturday against a top team and the Steelers C team, they had won 2 in a row. So they're making strides, and that is a large contribution from Darrell Anderson. But Little William, I think because he's so small and what he's doing, right, that team is really undefeated. He's kind of the front runner. Then nobody's challenging Tyree on the flag. Yeah, I was gonna say shout out to Tyree. I didn't forget about you, my man. Tyree Bruner. Nobody's catching Tyree on the flag right now because you could have rushing touchdown, but he has rushing and passing on a flag team at 6 years old. Good luck to anybody that could put up the kind of numbers that he's putting up within the next 2 weeks before the season closes out. I mean, he's 34 and 6, 20 to 6, 40 to whatever. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Tyree's on the flag, but I mean, we talk about these other guys all the time, but he's probably one of the most impressive guys on this whole list. You talking about 6 years old doing the kind of things he's doing, and it's just more to come. The older he gets, the better he's gonna get, man. And yeah, he's probably about as underrated because he's on flag. But yeah, Tyreek, man, he's the guy in flag. Yeah, he's the guy. Yeah, so so those are the top players. As I posted, that's not the final say so on the awards for the Legends case. But that's what that's the lead right now. But we still have some football to play. Players, who are on this list, they can lead their team to some key victories, and they can get up here with these guys as well. So just keep fighting hard, not necessarily for the award, but keep fighting for your team. And at the end of the day, you'll be rewarded as much as you can for your outstanding play.
So now we're gonna wrap this thing up in a few minutes, but we have to talk about some playoff updates, rankings, and teams who have been, talking about what they deserve, just like the debates with the top players. Also, teams and where they stand after this week. We've been talking about all week today. Next few weeks, these are weeks that you go talk the talk and walk the walk, or you're gonna get left behind, or at least you're gonna slip in the rankings for the playoff matchups. So, there's give us here an update of where teams are. Some teams, of course, we know are still at the top, but I know some teams have dropped and some teams have advanced.
Yeah, we'll start at the flag level. That right there is looking to be a Ranger Hurricane matchup in the championship. Not a close third to even challenge the Rangers or the Hurricane. Both of them blowing teams out.
Right.
And scoring a lot of points in doing so, and keeping a lot of flags so other teams are not scoring a lot. They are just both two talented teams. They're going to meet probably in the championship. Not a lot going on flag. C team, it kind of is a different story, because you have the Seahawks who are undefeated. You have the Steelers who are undefeated, and then you have sitting there on the field undefeated, but because of a forfeit, have a loss right next to their name. You have the Wolverines, and then the way the bracket is set up, you would have the Wolverines, possibly playing the Steelers in the second round, or the second bracket, or the number 2 bracket, and that could get interesting because that is going to be a tough bracket to come to win in. But number one clearly seems to be the Seahawks, and the Warriors are right there with them, and so we'll see what happens there. The B team, man, they really get interesting. Hurricane, and we thought that the Tigers were a close number 2 with the points they scored. They were winning in the point score. They were 4-1, right. And they run into the Hurricane, a battle of number 1 and number 2, and completely get shut down and shut out, and a lot of points put up on them. So the Hurricane kind of seem like they're in a league of their own. And so now from 2 to 10, it's just a matter of who they're going to face in the playoffs, because after that it gets close. The Warriors, the Seahawks, the Rangers, the Wolverines, they're all in there. The Wolverines may be the second best team now that can give them a shot. That's the only team that they hadn't played. Right. But 2 to 10 gets really interesting. And right now, the Hurricane is I'm calling them now their favorite. I know they'll at least have a spot in that championship game. Have you seen that offensive line? That offensive line is huge.
Oh, yeah, they are. Yeah, I was looking at them. I thought I was looking at the college Miami Hurricanes when I saw them. I had to look a few times to make sure. Yeah, so, yeah, it's getting close in this playoff race, man. Definitely, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. I'm ready for these last few weeks to pass on by.
18. You got teams, that is interesting because you got teams fighting to get in. And you got the Rangers, the Gators that are not out because of the slide, are not out of the quest to get in. Rangers, Gators, Bulls, Sharks all at the bottom trying to fight for those last 2 spots. That could get interesting. But the team to beat in that bracket is the Seahawks by far. But I think the Wolverines, again, have an athletic quarterback that will give the Wolverines a shot. The Seahawks a challenge.
Right. Oh, yeah. It's definitely some great games and competition to move forward with. So that's what we have to look forward to the upcoming playoffs. A lot of teams going to continue to play hard, and we definitely look forward to that, as I said. So there's other things to discuss also we'll be brief with, but we want to discuss conference cross-play rules and regulations. A lot of times online, just as all the other stuff we talk about, you hear a lot of the debates and the back and forth, and someone as you know who's just a fan or supporter, you may not know what's truth and what's not. So you know we have Mr. Henderson here, and he can clear up all of you know rumors and things like that, and kind of put things in the proper perspective, so we won't have these big fallouts and then the confusion and these kind of things going into the end of the season, because we don't want that and we don't need it. So we definitely want to keep things clean and transparent as we get ready to go towards the end of the season and into the playoffs. So we're going to discuss some of the cross-league rules, regulations, and hopefully people take these things to heed and not to continue to put out confusion instead of going with what's on the books.
So the rules of crossplay really aren't different. Okay, it's the issue comes up with what referee crew is enforcing it. My suggestion would be, before I get into that, would be to meet at the midfield before each game and get with the referees and get a clear understanding. But the rules are, okay, no X-man running the ball, okay? That's clear. No lining up over the center, all right? If you're on the line, lined up inside of both sides of the tackle, you have to have your hand in the dirt, okay? You can fill the gaps at linebacker, but you cannot start. This is the Allied rule. If you fill in the gaps, if you're running a 3-4 and those you're going in between the tackle at linebacker, you're going in between the tackle and the two defensive ends, you can line up in that gap, but you can't stand over the player. You have to come in and put your hand in the dirt, but you can fill a gap. And if you decide to shoot it, if you're running a blitz right up the middle, then that's fine. Punts are live, so except on the flag when you have the walk off. So the punts are live. You can't line up over the center on the punt. The kicker gets a opportunity to kick the ball, and then there is a rush. So that's some of the rules. Now, the issue with the 4 men and the 5 more than 4 in the backfield, the goal line, that's in-game stuff that just comes with human error. And I just can't stress that enough. This is Little League football. We do not have the benefit of instant replay. And again, these guys are not professionals. Okay. Now, I'm at some of the games, and when I see a referee, I know on the Allied side, and I see just a terrible performance, I ask the owner that we contract with not to bring that particular official back or that crew back. If I have a issue with how the game is going and it's not being under control, or there's preferential treatment to one side, I said that crew not be back. But there's no such thing as a perfect crew in Little League football. If you know one, tell me, because all of I heard is, these officials.
Right.
Give me the perfect officiating core, and for next year, I'll get with the owner of North Texas, Ms. Trish, and we could try to figure this out to improve it. But ever since I've been in Little League football, I have not seen a good officiating, a perfect, I take that back, a perfect officiating crew. And the interesting thing about it is I'm not hearing this from the top teams. The common denominator is we're hearing this from teams that are scratching to make the playoffs. We're hearing this from teams that are 0-90, and so a lot of that is just wanting something to cry about. Now, there is some legitimate concerns, legitimate complaints, but as they arise, we address those. And I said it, I would hope that if we were trying to grow this and improve upon it, that you would not bash the officials, you would not bash the league, you would not bash the organization. It's a first-year league, and even more, which was harder to do, is a cross-conference play that we tried to put together within 2 months, but we made it work. But those are the things that I wanted to address right before the playoffs, because, look, we're throwing the complaints out the window. The playoffs, just come play football. It's too late in the season, too late in the game to address it, but like I said, better late than never. It'll be improved definitely next year. But from where we are, that's kind of that's where we are.
All right. And I definitely thank you for breaking these things down, because as we say, it's always an ongoing debate and talk about these rules, and as you say, the refs, and they're not always coming from the top teams. Like you say, coming from the teams that are scratching to make the playoffs, so they're in a desperation moment. So they're looking for any advantage that they can get.
Yeah.
But as he said, leaders all on the field. That's the best you can do. Get your kids ready, prepare them as much as you can to execute in between the lines, and and let the rules stand where they are, and stick with them and try to play your best in between the lines, and let the end result on the field be what it is. But your goal should be to improve your team and your organization, and let the league and the conferences take care of itself. So that's just my 2 cents when it comes to that. But that's all for today, folks. We look forward to the great play that we're definitely expecting to see in Week 7. And we'll look forward to that playoffs, man. It's almost here.
Almost there.
So get ready. Less crying and more execution. You're tuned in to Allied Football.